Hello. Before we start today's episode, if you would like a condensed version of what I'm talking about in this podcast, go ahead and subscribe to the Perfectionist Guide. You can read the entire thing in 3 minutes or less. To access this, go to CourtneyLoveGavin.com/newsletter. Are you a bit of a perfectionist, type A, hyper performer? Then you know that having the audacity to see an ideal and bring it into reality while breaking generational habits of hustle can be tough, but it doesn't have to be. If you are ready to burn bright instead of burning out, to lead without losing yourself, and to enjoy the life you have worked so hard to create, then keep listening. I'm your host, America's leader on rewiring perfectionism, CLG, and this is Perfectionism Rewired, the podcast. Welcome to Perfectionism Rewired. Today, we are lasering in your inner ability to be present with the highest sensation. Hendricks calls this your upper limit. It's also been called your Havingness level. It's being able to receive, to be open to all of the sensations of being alive and being grounded and gathered and present, regardless of what sensation you are experiencing. You are able to be present and centered without going off into the story and to start inflating that this is the best thing in the world or this is the worst thing in the world. And why did this happen to me? An interesting way to think about this is that we all have an internal barometer of how much you allow yourself to have before this pinch me, oh my God, this is too good to be true, alarm bell goes off. And you start freaking out and unconsciously rejecting the wonderfulness. This can also be called your prosperity set point, but basically it's a temperature. In all of my years of coaching, I have discovered that when you have a tiny capacity, like your pleasure threshold is like very short, it blocks you from your aliveness and satisfying success. When you expand this capacity within yourself, when you have like a very tall Havingness level, you always find the joy. You open up to every opportunity and you grow and you flourish and you blossom no matter the weather. When you don't, like when your pleasure threshold is like, bleh. Brene Brown calls this like foreboding joy. I'm going to get into like the signs of that right now, but I just wanted to give you a big overview of like what this is. It can be like during sex. If I was with someone else, that like I would like turn off when a sensation was feeling really good. I would like stop myself like from orgasming because I'd be like, oh, nope, that's too much. And so you're having this level set point. It's not something that you can just dial up consciously. You can't solve an unconscious problem with your conscious mind. It doesn't work. Like literally two different languages. And I'm not talking about like Portuguese versus Spanish, where like there are some similarities. I'm talking about Mandarin and Pig Latin. They use a different alphabet. There's like 17 words for the word spicy. There's no simpatico there. But the amazing, amazing news is that you can reset and increase your threshold. You can grow in any area that we're about to cover in this episode. All that it takes is the willingness to step outside your comfort zone onto your growth edge and to understand yourself in a new light. So let's get into signs that your Havingness temperature, that your pleasure threshold is dangerously low. So the first one is that you are underearning and overworking. When you think about money or material resources, they are a limiter and they're not an expander for you. Maybe you're telling yourself, I wish I could afford that. The problem here, it's not your boss, it's not the industry, it's not the economy. If this is persisting for you for a long time, I would say more than a year, the problem is that you've got some unconscious mechanisms that are causing you to be blind to the expansive opportunities for your prosperity. I am a fucking genius at this when it comes to opportunities for your expansiveness and like Really, really simple ways. If you are under earning, like come hither, come on over to mama. I can help you. The second sign that your pleasure threshold is very low, you're punching way below your weight, is if you have a lot of clutter and you are losing your stuff, piles. How this shows up is you can never find the clothes that you want to wear. You have no idea like where those vitamins are that you bought last week. You order things online, but then you can't find them. If you are not organized and respecting, giving reverence and honoring your own possessions, that is a sign that you have some deep-seated ambivalence towards whether or not you deserve to have and enjoy those possessions. Okay? Sign number 3 is if you are judgy McJudgerson. You are really hard on yourself and others. Anything that you are criticizing, rejecting, finding fault with, hating on, like truth booth, that is what you most need to nurture within your deepest self. A few episodes back, I talked about how I judged so much being a coach, being an entrepreneur, energy healing, living in LA, all things that I do now. And the reason why we do this is because when you have a very tiny, tiny, tiny threshold, that causes you to be suspicious of the people, places, and things that actually will nourish you so, so profoundly and answer that like deep, deep longing and desire that you have within you. I encourage you to be your own Nancy Drew to your own suspicion and criticism. Could it be that you are trying to find reasons to dismiss something that if you truly embraced it, you would be so exquisitely fulfilled and immensely, immensely just like beaming with appreciation? Okay, number 4 is if you find that you start projects, but you don't finish them, or you finish them, but you don't take the time to celebrate and to integrate that accomplishment before rushing ahead to the next thing. Like the goalposts are always moving. If this is you, run, don't walk to get your ticket for the Unfuckwithable Experienza. In 2019, I created an entire course and group coaching program around DIY PR for creative entrepreneurs and coaches. It was called I Can Spell PR. And me and my business partner, we did like 2 workshops where we offered it for people to buy. Nobody bought it. And I was just like, okay, that's it. I don't want to spend any more time on this. And this was a year of my life that was put while I was doing like a billion other things that I put towards building this course and this group coaching program and creating the sales funnel and like all of that stuff. This was like a big red flag. My own threshold for goodness was really low. It was big enough for me to get the course like and group coaching program, but it was not expansive enough at that time to endure the sensation of people like rejecting it or actually valuing it and buying my curriculum and sending me money for it. Like, oh, no. That would be like far, far, far too much. Without knowing why, I couldn't find the energy and the motivation to do the marketing for this program. I mean, we even had beta testers. Like I'm telling you, this was like no corner was cut here. Even though I knew that it was like excellent work and I knew that it could help so many more people, all of my energy and motivation was locked up in my havingness threshold, my pleasure threshold, fears about what would happen to me if I actually became like a super star, what that would mean. The next sign is if you are over consuming and you are not truly enjoying what you're taking in. Overconsumption, most of the time people talk about like drugs or alcohol, but I'm talking about podcasts, shopping, video games, courses, Basically, you are consuming, but you are not being present with your attention or your enjoyment or your savoring. It really is a compulsive and addictive behavior. Overconsumption emerges when you are unable to give yourself the time, focus, and attention, aka presence, to actually take pleasure in what it is that you are ingesting. Like slowing down and savoring to cherish what you take into yourself. The next sign is intimacy issues. This could be in the bedroom or it could be in the boardroom. When you notice that you are getting resentful and you are shutting down in your relationships. Intimacy for you is icky. When your threshold for intimacy is low, you are suspect of the motives of people that try to love you, or even that you are like in friendship with. I actually had this come up in one of my personal friendships recently. I raised it to this friend and I was like, hey, what evidence have I shown you that makes it so you feel you can't trust me? And this person was very like, oh, it has nothing to do with you. That's just the way that I am. And that gave me pause and it made me think, that's not the kind of relationships dynamics that I have in my life. Another sign is that if compliments make you super uncomfy, if your response to a compliment isn't thank you, and it doesn't feel like just make you so warm inside when it comes to compliments, if you tend to feel overwhelmed or guilty or maybe even burdened, this used to be me, I bet that you have very high self-esteem and that you are a very confident person. The reason why compliments make you feel uncomfy or getting gifts or having people do favors for you is because on an unconscious level, you feel responsible for the other person's experience. And you feel uncomfy because you feel that you are somehow indebted to that person when they give. But this perceived debt is an illusion of the conscious mind. It is an ego defense mechanism, and it keeps you from enjoying the warmth of connection and gratitude that true receiving can bring into your life. What we don't realize is that the more anxious that we become, the more averse we become to these sour sensations, is also the more that you are numbing yourself and shrinking your capacity to feel the yummy sensations of love and joy and pleasure and peace and connection and aliveness. And like, do you see what I'm saying? Like when you turn down your volume on one, it's the same box inside of you. It's the same temperature. You can't say, oh, I'm going to love unconditionally. And do you know what I mean? Like it goes both ways. If you're like, I'm aware now what? Here's what doesn't work. Approaching it from the conscious perspective. Expansion and stretching your havingness levels, stretching your pleasure threshold. This has to do with your mind, body, emotions, and spirit. And it's really being able to anchor yourself into more of the aliveness. If you noticed in this episode that holy cannoli, holy wow, I read you like a menu. If you're nodding your head yes, listen closely because I might have the solution you've been searching for. My Perfectionism Rewired Accelerator, a 6-week, highly individualized one-on-one coaching experience designed exclusively for perfectionists like you. Your perfectionism is actually your greatest asset, and leveraging it can be hard work or take years of guesswork. That's why in Perfectionism Rewired Accelerator, I give you my key frameworks to taking charge of your Ferrari drive, proven to work even for the most type A, high-strung, stubborn perfectionists. In the first 30 days, you will cut your burnout in half, increase your professional fulfillment by at least 150%, and your self-compassion will go up at least 250%. And that is just your first 30 days. So if you want to save yourself years of trial and error, go to CourtneyLoveGavin.com/accelerator today. Or if you want to take the easy way, just click the link in the show notes to check out the Perfectionism Rewired Accelerator.